Okay, this is going to be our second um, Zoom meeting for poetry, and today the second poem I'm going to look at is Langston Hughes' "Mother to Son." And before I begin, I just want to look at Springboard for a minute, and this is a list of terms that you're supposed to learn. It's a Springboard list of terms. And if we do Langston Hughes's Mother to Son, we're going to get extended metaphor, stanza, and free verse. Those are the three things I'm going to focus on. Um, at the top here, what I've done is I put a quote from Romeo and Juliet. Uh, oh no, actually, this isn't a quote from Romeo and Juliet. This is from a sonnet. This is How Do I Love Thee? Okay, so, um, no, that's not How Do I Love Thee. Well, anyway, it doesn't make a difference. It's from a sonnet. I know it's from a sonnet. It's the last two lines of this sonnet. And the reason I put it here is because I just want you to see Shakespeare's iambic pentameter very quickly. Don't worry, you do not have to know Shakespeare's iambic pentameter now. The reason I'm showing you is because free verse is poetry that has not got rhythm and rhyme. And you can say, well, what's rhythm and rhyme? Anyway, I just figured the best way to show you is with Shakespeare, since it's very conventional poetry and it has deliberate rhythm and rhyme and is easy just to look at and understand, I think. So this is Shakespeare's iambic pentameter. An iambic is the rhythm of stressed, unstressed syllable beat, right? Soft, loud, or da dum, da dum, da dum, da dum. And here, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see. 10 beats, right? Soft, loud, soft, loud, soft, loud, soft, loud, soft, loud. Each line of Shakespeare's poetry is 10 beats with the iambic pentameter. And so iambic means soft, loud, soft, loud, soft, loud, soft, loud. Iambic names the syllable pattern type. And pentameter means penta means five, like a pentagon. Penta is five, and there are five instances of the soft loud, soft loud, soft loud, soft loud, soft loud beat in each line of Shakespeare's poetry. So that's what iambic pentameter is. It means five instances of a certain type of beat in each line. That's the meter. Okay, so we have iambic pentameter, and then we have a rhyme scheme also, and that's where C and D. Every one of Shakespeare's sonnets, so the last two lines of the sonnets rhyme. So it's a rhyming couplet, two lines rhyme. And these two lines of rhyme in the poetry, the N words are C and D, and they have the same sound, so they are rhyming words. Okay. And again, this so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. All right. So anyway, that is um, what is that? That poem. It's Shakespeare's sonnet. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? That's what it is. Okay. So anyway, I'm just showing you this Shakespeare thing so you get an idea of what regular old-fashioned poetry is. It has rhythm and rhyme. Free verse is open form of poetry. It's modern, and it arose from the French verse libre. And actually, that's funny because verse libre, like liberty, free of, form. So it does not have consistent meter patterns, will not have da dum, da dum, da dum, or any other form of consistent meter pattern. It will not have rhyme like CD, and it basically doesn't have a generally easily recognized musical pattern. So it tends to sound more like natural speech. So I could show you a couple of free verse poems. You go like, that's a poem. And it's like, oh, that's a poem. I mean, like Sylvia Plath wrote some poetry, which I actually asked in class. They call that poetry because it was nasty stuff. Anyway, free verse is modern poetry free of rhythm and rhyme. And so anyway, here we have, we're going to do Langston Hughes's poem, Mother to Son, and we'll see that the poem is only one stanza. And what does stanza mean? A group of lines of poetry. And you can have several stanzas in a poem, right? But Langston Hughes just wrote one long poem with one long stanza in it. And I put a little side note here about white space because white space is where the silent word carries on and characters continue their lives in pauses in the margins in between lines. It's the unwritten words, the untold story, or the strategic line breaks can conjure. What's funny about that is like that's like some poet wrote that. Anyway, white space is actually where there's nothing written is a white space. Like so, you have a stanza, then you have what they call that a like a gap, blank lines between. Then you have another stanza. So the between the two right here, this is white space. Right here is white space. There's nothing in it. This is white space right here. When there's nothing in between the lines, it's the white space. And some poets actually draw, like when we read the red wheelbarrow, the poet actually drew the shape of a wheelbarrow with his poem, right? So he created it in the white space. Okay. Anyway, so white space is an interesting term to know. Poets definitely love that term. And then finally, we have extended metaphor. An extended metaphor is a long, drawn out comparison between two unlike things. When we read the Odyssey, hopefully we'll have enough time at the end of this quarter to do it. In the Odyssey, there's a lot of extended similes where two unlike things are compared to the use of like or as, or actually in the Odyssey, it's just so. But with the extended metaphor, it is a comparison made between two unlike things without the use of like and as. And in the poem by Langston Hughes, Mother to Son, it's a comparison of a, trying to walk up a bad staircase, right? So you can get somewhere and following and what happens to you in the journey of life. Sometimes a journey of life is compared to a unkept road or a bad pathway. But in Langston Hughes's poem, it's a mother telling a son, life ain't easy. There's things that happen, and so I'm going to have Langston Hughes, the poet, read his poem. It is gorgeous. And the internet is good for a lot of things, like getting the poet reading his own poem is one example. So I got to put you on pause here for 1 sec, and then we will appear with Langston Hughes reading his poem, Mother to Son. At least now I'm smart enough not to have that debacle where you're staring at my face as I try to get the recording going. Oops, I just remembered something. I didn't check to see if I hold on 1 sec. I can do this the wrong way, and then I have a problem. Hold on, I got to fix it and make sure I did it the right way. So much for skipping that debacle. All right, so this is Langston Hughes reading the poem. This is a
poem, Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. There. But all the time, I's been a-climbing on, and reaching landings and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you set on the steps 'cause you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I's still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
That was very good. Okay, so there's a couple of pictures there of Langston Hughes. He was one of the Harlem Renaissance poets, and he was actually discovered in a. Oh, actually, look at this. I got. Let's have Viola Davis read it also. And the reason.
That face that is usually covered by her phone has finally made an appearance.
I went to a poetry conference, a couple of poetry conferences, with poets. It was really funny. I'm telling you, they are a very odd group of people. But anyway, at the poetry conference, they said you should have more than one reading of the poem. Like, like let a couple of different students read the poem because it helps you digest and interpret the poem. So I didn't realize Viola Davis was there. It just flicked right into her, and that's okay. We'll have her read the poem too.
Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time I's been a-climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now. For I's are still going, honey. I's are still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Okay. Right. So I got to show you the actual written word of the poem and talk to you about it for 1 minute. I'm not going to make this too long. I just want to really quickly show you a picture of Cinderella's crystal stairway, because she says, life for me ain't been no crystal stairs. In other words, I think what they're part of the inference is that a set of crystal stairs is easier to climb, right? That they're nicely kept and that they look and see how nice that is. Like carpeted is all new, right? So crystal staircases are staircases that are so easy and nice to be able to climb. And when she says life ain't been no crystal stairs, I just wanted a visual. Okay, so we got a visual. Here we are. This is the actual poem, The Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. And we see that obviously there isn't a regular rhythm for each line of poetry, and there's not rhyme there, right? You stare, it, splinters, up, floor. One thing I would like you to notice when I say white space, you see that? How bare like stays there is a high drama all by itself, right? And places with no carpet on the floor, bare. And it adds emphasis to the whole visual of the stairs being bare with no carpet on them. And the other thing of nails or tacks sticking up that you could cut your foot on and splinters, right? So that ain't been no crystal stairs. That life has been hard, right? But all the time I've been a climbing on. So in other words, I didn't stop. I just kept pushing on through life, no matter how hard it was. As I said, the extended metaphor is the comparison of a bad staircase to the troubles you can encounter in life. I've been climbing on, reaching landings and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark, right? So, like, what do we call it? Nothing worse than getting on a staircase and finding a bare light bulb that's flickering. I mean, really, it's like something out of the Twilight Zone. So, and there's ain't been no light, really. Let's go upstairs in the dark with these rickety, broken stairs. And then, so she says to her son, so boy, don't you turn back. And this is the turn in the poem right here, right? So she's saying, all the time I've been going on all my life, I've just been climbing on, reaching landings, turning corners. I didn't stop and sit down. I just kept going. And she says, so boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on those steps, right? Just because it's hard, you don't stop. Don't you fall now. For I's still going on, honey. I'm still climbing and life for me. So she's saying to her son that things happen in life and you can't stop and you can't go back. You have to continue walking on, going up, 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 no matter what the obstacles are. So it's a mother giving her son advice. And I say, really gorgeous poem. The other thing I didn't tell you, which I probably should have mentioned, is that it's in dialect. And I'll show you something very quickly about dialect. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to share this with you real quick. This is Langston Hughes in dialect. Langston Hughes' adaptation of Black dialect to his poetry, his verse, and his insistence that the full range of Black life was worthy of literary representation were crucial contributions to the theory and practice of African American poetry. Like Hughes's other jazz poems, Jazzania retains an awareness of the whirling vitality of Harlem nightlife and is not so much like a healthy manifestation of racial high spiritism as an escape, inevitably momentarily, from the oppressive daily life into an artificial intensity. Hughes's use of dialect and persona and of vernacular forms such as the blues work together to make his second book, Fine Clothes to the Jew, one of the most evocative works in the canon of modernist poetry. In 1951, only a year after penning Hope for Harlem, he had published Montage of a Dream Deferred, a long poem that delays Hughes's popular style within an ingenious neo-modernist structure of unified fragments. Okay, so this is actually from a whole chapter about modernist poetry, and this is a summary of what the chapter is going to be about. And I'm just reading it to you because I want you to get an idea of what dialect means. It means the way one speaks. And one other thing I will throw out at you before I close the meeting is that poetry, there's poetry and prose, and poetry is verse, and prose is like the essay writing, the novel writing, the informative text writing, and poetry is considered a completely different form. So when we're writing, make sure that when you're writing something about poetry, you state in this poem, or you're naming the genre correctly. Okay. All right. Thank you. And I shall see you in class. This is the end of the second poetry installment.